It is May 22nd. I'm in my apartment in southern Russia. On May the 19th, I called the open forum on Skype and was able to speak with Harold Camping. I've been trying to find an archive that I could replay the conversation. All I found was an upload on YouTube of the last 3 minutes where Harold was saying that the 19th was his last program. There's nothing posted at the open forum website of the archives. The last archive is May 18th. I really hope that archive is for the 19th is available. I am making this video especially for the man who posted the last 3 minutes of Harold Camping a video, and I very much like to see the whole video, including Harold speaking with me. My message to Harold was that the Bible is a description of God, not God, and that in Acts, when Paul was on Mars Hill and the Greeks had a monument or a place to worship the unknown God, and Paul said, that's who we worship. In him we live and move and have our being. And this is such a simple no-brainer. Everything is God. Well, you can say everything exists, and we can operationally define that as God's physical substance, not created, not destroyed, eternal and infinite, but finite in density, and that the creation is not Big Bang myth or description from the Bible myth, but the creation is forming out of God's material substance, like forming a hat. The infinite, eternal substance with a finite density, that matter is formed, has to do with vortex rings and so forth, but that's another matter. I very dearly would like to hear that conversation, and I hope that posting this might be of some help to Harold. I stated very clearly to him that the Bible is only a description, but in God we live and move and have our being, and our intuition would be much better. Yes, the world is quite evil. Here in southern Russia, in the Caucasus, there's murder almost every day of Islamists killing peaceful imams or judges or policemen or soldiers or other Muslims who don't follow the dictates of Muhammad, and Muhammad then says to kill them, and you do. I just read of more murders in Pakistan, and every day you can find more about this on my website, thewaythetruthandthelife.net. And go to background in Islam, and you can get the archives for the past few years of news, or the Quran from the University of Michigan, many other resources, and also my postings on the YouTube. You'll find I think there's 13 Muslims need help too. We need to help Muslims. They are the victims of this theocratic cult. that indoctrinates children so they don't have a free mind. And invite you to view those videos. And if you're a Muslim, I would invite you to understand that, like Mohammed Bezouzi, or whatever his last name is, there from Tunisia, he had Christ's spirit. Christ said, "Greater love hath no end," and he laid down his life for his friends. And that's what Christ did, and it was the priests that caused his murder, just like the imams that are faithful to Muhammad's murderous scheme will kill you if you're in a country that strictly follows the Quranic teaching to kill anybody that leaves Islam. That we need to work together to make it a decent and peaceful world, and not to indoctrinate children. Children should not be taught other people's dogmas until after 12 years old, that they can grow by learning from experience, from playing and investigating physical and behavioral reality, not being indoctrinated out of some book, whether it's the Quran, the Torah, or the Bible, or any of the writings from Buddhism or Hinduism or Shintoism or whatever. Leave the children free to grow, that they can have individual sovereignty and not be programmed. The brain grows in stages, and it's hardwired after that. The children need to be free to explore and have common sense that comes from living in reality, not being raised in an apartment and stuffed in a daycare, but out playing around and being around other children with free play. That's how they have a free mind when they're older, to grow to individual sovereignty and have control over their life. I would add from my testimony yesterday. This is Monday, the 20. It's Monday the 23rd. My time on the computer and date on the computer is for New York, and it shows Sunday the 22nd, but this is Monday morning. It's just turned daylight. And in my testimony yesterday, Sunday the 22nd, I was glad to say openly that things like spirit is our outlook. To have Christ's spirit is to have Christ's outlook. And our soul is our culture, and to be born again is to have individual sovereignty and choose to serve the next generation. And heaven is the highest potential for reality. And the reality is that the earth was formed something like 10 billion years ago, along with the sun, maybe 5 billion years ago. That it's a miracle of time and chance that life exists on Earth or anywhere in the universe in God's body, because the time and chance and the lifetime of a solar system like the sun is like something like 10 billion years, and it burns out and explodes. The planets forming around in any solar system, that there be water and a stable environment for 5 billion years. Life, you and me, are not new life. Your birth was not new life. There are chemicals developed in the water of primordial earth way back. The replicating molecules were probably at least 3 billion years old or 2 billion years old. And any time that process of living evolution was destroyed, it would have to go back. And to have this earth stable, and we know now that just like Venus, I think it is, always faces the sun the same face, that Pangea was really the earth facing the sun, and there was a circle of where in the center was a hot spot, and on the back of the earth was cold, and in the middle was hot raising clouds and a ring of water where life formed for up until it was 56 million years ago, that the moon struck the earth from behind, spreading Pangea out. You can find the dinosaurs in Antarctica and all over where Pangea was spread out. And it killed the larger animals, but it didn't destroy life. And it left an Earth rotating with a ring around the equator where life could continue to evolve. And that's how we came to be today. But our life, we are like a cell going on in a body that is in the order of billions of years old. And if we don't free life from this planet, because it has its own lifetime, and the sun will explode, a ball of fire, and consume the earth. If you look at the moon and the other planets, how many times they get hit, it's amazing that the earth still exists. Now that comet causing the earth Pangea to spread out or something like that, it's a university myth. But you can also find this stuff on my website. But at any rate, Jesus was part of this eternal God process of life taking over 1 billion years to evolve, because of the miracle of time and chance that there was a stable enough environment with the temperature between freezing and boiling, the pressure, right, that these replicating molecules could continue to evolve until we exist today. And the greatest purpose we can have, because the world is ending in a sense where it says the sins of the children will be visited, or the fathers' sins will be visited on the children of the third and fourth generation. You can see here in Russia, it's in the third generation of daycare. The children are narcissistic at best, many. Psychopathic, the terrible children, torturing children, many stories you can find by searching the internet, just like in America, children killing children, and what's going on that with the breakdown of the women not able to give that nursing bond because they were raised in daycare, and it degenerates. The raise in autism is something like 10,000% since in America since the Second World War, when that took women out of the home. And so the sins of those fathers, that they didn't protect the home. Now, visited to the third and fourth generation means the culture is dead after that. Doesn't mean that then everybody's free. Look at Russia today. more abortions and live births. And what will survive here in Russia is Islam, because they have a birthing policy, and they tend to keep the women in the home caring for the children. That I would pray for the Muslims that they could come to recognize Christ and Mohammed Bouzouzi from Tunisia, and make this a safe world, and realize that Mohammed set a culture of not sacrificing children, and Jesus set a culture of confronting the priesthood, that we are part of God and we can go to God and have fellowship without priests. Revelations says we will all be kings and priests to God, and there's no reason we can't have fellowship. I have a video on a home meeting, and because of the problem that women are the product of hundreds of thousands of years of being taken by force and raped and forced and dominated by men, and men being stronger with larger brains, more logical, because they had those that survived the men were those that could work together, make logical plans to defend themselves against animals or other tribes attacking, and to work together in a group with physical strength to protect and dominate. And women that survived were those that could, in their powerless state, manipulate, but it left them with the ability to love and hate. They can kill a baby just as easy as they can love it. As I say, here in Russia, they're murdering more babies than giving live births, and it's a tragedy. Unhealthy ones, and we're taught to pity them all, like in the poor starving people in Africa. And what we've done is degraded the culture, giving them free food until the farmers can't afford to make a living, and they're all becoming dependent on a system that's breaking down because it doesn't involve healthy child care. Affluence. Look at my video, my testimony before the Food and Drug Administration. I will look for that number. I can do that right now while I'm talking to you. Forgive me. I will go to my YouTube listings, and I will tell you, it will show you much insight into the reason for the degradation and the destruction of our culture, and the takeover of psychiatry and drugs and electroshock and all these things. It's tragedy, really. But where is it? Why is that coming up? Okay, here it is. And that my video number 229. If you see that, it was my testimony last January in Washington. And you might watch the 228 testimony there. But any of the videos, much help. At any rate, I just hope that I can somehow receive a copy of Harold Camping's May 19th open forum conversations, or I had a conversation with him, and I very much hope that Harold Camping will go on with his radio and talk shows. In God we live and have our being. Like one of the 2x2 ministers said, and if you write a description of corn on a piece of paper and put it in the ground, it's not going to grow. The Bible is a description of God. It's not going to grow. God, what we live in God, we live and move and have our being. And Harold Camping understands the value of what's written in the Bible. He just goes off on numerology, and I can understand that. It's so easy. I like the numbers 3, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. I like the number 7, God's the 7 spirits of God. I like the number 13 because I was born on the 13th of September. But let's get away from this. There's an insanity that my friends, communist friends that hate the haves, the class struggle. They hate the upper class. They hate the controlling class. Whether fascist or communist, they have to have something to hate that justifies killing other people. That's a whole nother testimony. Let me try to get this ended up by saying I very much hope for a copy of that last May 19th open forum, and I very much hope to encourage Harold Camping to go on, because understanding the description is good. That helps us with our intuitive insight reinforced, because we can see other people. When we read the description of an elephant, it helps because we've seen an elephant. And we all live and move and have our being in God. So to hear these prophets give testimony to one another about our experiences in reality, physical and behavioral, and raise children so they have a free mind, not just capable of abstract mathematics, but are capable of differentiating between the description of a thing and a thing, because this is one of the worst types of insanity, to reason perfectly on a false assumption. And the best protection against that, it's what's happening in Islam, the false assumption that whatever's in the Quran is direct from the Word of God. It's insanity. It's reasoning perfectly on a false assumption. Not necessarily bad people. Bad people aren't necessarily reasoning. They're just willing to kill you, to take control or get money or whatever. At any rate, forgive my babbling. I hope I end up with a copy of that last conversation, and I hope Harold Camping and his followers go on. I very much recommend that you look at my YouTube postings on home church. There's nothing better than where 2 or more are gathered together in my name, I am with them. I started to talk about women. Men need to have a higher place in terms of speaking, because the problem women have with dominating is real. Dominating by manipulation. If they have the equal power, and it's not a contempt for women, that it's the Bible says don't suffer women to teach or have authority over men. It's just that women have a problem with being manipulative with themselves and with other women too. Not that that won't clear up in time, just like we can breed dogs to be violent or peaceful. Women have been bred to be manipulative because that's what survived when they were taken in rape, pillage, and plunder. And their ability to abort their children, for hundreds of thousands of years, many of their children were the product of rape, violent rape, not out of a marriage between a man and a woman who grew in love for each other, and the child was a fruit of their love, and they prepared a home and cared for the child with love. My website I'm working on to try and help people understand these things too. If you go to my thesis on purpose, I'm working on that now, and I hope to be able to leave something that will help people organize their experience, not to indoctrinate you with my beliefs that Jesus was straight from God, but we're all straight from God, is a no-brainer, and that he had a special spirit from God and was part of God, and God's intelligence was in him, and it can be in you if you have a free mind, if you're not indoctrinated with the Quran or Torah or whatever, when you're so small that when you're later on you can't differentiate between the reality and what you were indoctrinated with. At any rate, I recommend that we make a society where fathers have control of what they're responsible for, that they can protect their children and protect their children from their mother sometimes, and the brain difference of having logic separated from the pattern intellect the way it is in men. In women, that both exist in the same, in both hemispheres have logical and pattern thinking. With the man, the left brain is logical and the right brain is pattern. Better able to make a plan and not get it confused with the present time demands also. But those are all subjects open for discussion, and how wonderful when we can get together and share a testimony and say the truth and grow in love. What Jesus said when someone asked him, "What must I do to be saved?" And he said, "Just love your source of existence and love yourself and love your neighbor as yourself." And to grow in this love of children, home, community, mankind, and try to make the world safe enough to get to work on building these spacecrafts that we can spread life throughout the universe, that when the earth is destroyed, heaven can go on without having to be recreated another infinite time away. Thank you.